Hey everybody, welcome to Leadership Unveiled. This is the podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt. If you are listening on the podcast, you're like, oh yeah, like this is a normal episode. Hello, Kayla. If you are on my YouTube channel, you're like, oh, she's recording a podcast episode, but it is recorded and also on her YouTube channel. So surprise, surprise, no matter where you're listening, this is both filmed and audio. So this is not the first time that I've done this before. I have YouTube videos up of me recording podcast episodes, and then I'll take the audio and put it on my podcast episode. So this isn't the first time I've done it, but I decided let's make it very obvious. So I'm wearing my headphones. If you can't see me, I'm wearing my white headphones. These are the same headphones that are in my podcast, like little thumbnail, my picture. It's the podcast headphones with my microphone and me with a cup of coffee recording like this. So if you can imagine that, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, for those of you watching on YouTube, I thought, let's just make this a little bit more obvious. The thumbnail for this video, anytime that I record a podcast episode where I'm actually this is the podcast episode, I will have the thumbnail be that podcast thumbnail, like I just described. So then it's really obvious. I just figured why not have themed videos so that you know, this one is also a podcast. So I know that many people, like I've said this before on the podcast, that you like to listen in different places. You might be on the go one day and audio is much easier for you. And then other days you want to watch, or maybe you just have YouTube on in the background while you're working. Wherever you're at, hello, I'm Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt. Just some background. I've had this podcast since 2018 and it's morphed over time. And as I was recording this intro, I almost said, welcome to the Glow Getters podcast, because it used to be called Glow Getters podcast. And actually now, most recently this year, it is now Leadership Unveiled. So I like to take this specific podcast and really pull back the curtain about what leadership is like, because I think that people have an idea of what leadership is in their mind, or an idea of what management is in their mind. And it's hard to know unless you've been there. And so I love to just kind of break that down for you and share, what am I doing? What have I learned? And all of that jazz. So today, let's just get down to the topic. I want to talk to you about setting yourself up for success with a very nice network of folks to help you get exactly what you need, to ask questions, to be mentors for you, to help you and guide you along your way. And it's just going to be this wonderful thing that's going to make your life so much easier when you're starting out. And if you don't have what I'm going to be talking about today, I highly encourage you to start, and I can help you with that. So if you're watching on my YouTube channel, I'm going to put a picture of this on the screen. If you're on the podcast, no problem. I'll describe it. So I do have a brand new role checklist, and it has many different items on it. I think there's 7 different bullet points. One of the main ones is a stakeholder contact list. So I'm going to be talking through how to get your network wide, and why this is so important, and sort of the strategy behind it, and the way that I like to make it happen for my folks and kind of customize the experience. So this checklist is available for you. I'll put it in the show notes of the podcast episode, as well as on the YouTube channel in the description, so you can download it for free. And then if you're interested in diving more deeply, I do have a course on this. It goes through every single item on this checklist in depth with all of the templates I'm going to provide to you in the course for free. In addition, done for you templates that you can just plug and play and fill in all your information, and you will be set for success. So let's get down to it. So have you ever had a boss who's like, oh yeah, just contact Laura, she'll take care of you. Or yeah, Jim, he'll do that for you. And you're like, who's Laura? Who is Jim? I don't know who these people are. And, it's so funny because you think not a big deal. I'll just say who are they? And I think when we're new in our role, no matter if we're just starting out after we've just graduated school, or whether we've been in the profession for a while, it can be intimidating to be I'm not sure who you're talking about. And so what I want to make sure that I do is help you set yourself up for success, to know who are these really important key players. And I like to call them stakeholders. So the first thing you want to do is think about what groups of folks might you need to talk to or correspond with or collaborate with in your day-to-day work, and start making out a list of buckets. So that might be the IT folks, that might be Maybe you work with somebody in like a copywriting department or like a proofreading department, finance, maintenance, facilities. You might need to work with somebody from, I said finance, but like billing specifically. Maybe you need to talk through process improvement. So do you have like a process improvement part of your department? Maybe this is your manager's boss or a service line leader. This could be a department head or a medical director, somebody who has influence there. So you can see, if you think about your role and who you might be talking with, or maybe who your boss might connect with on a day-to-day basis, these are the types of people. I specifically work in healthcare, so I named some healthcare related things. I can also think of like nurse managers, like I said, heads of department, things like that. These are the types of folks that are going to be really helpful and integral to your success and connecting and networking with other folks. So once you have your buckets, start and try to fill in the names that you know. And maybe you just know like first names and you have like a little scribble from a note that your boss said. Fill in the things that the people that you know. And then you can kind of see where you're at. Now, if you've been in your role for a while, you're like, I know all of these contacts. Great. I want you to think about, does your department have a stakeholder list like this? And if the answer is no, then you can say, yeah, okay, great. I'm going to create it for my folks, for my friends, or my colleagues, my department, and then I'm going to share it. And we'll save it somewhere where we can update it regularly. And that way it's done. So consider it a favor that you're doing for yourself and for others in the department. So once you fill it in, then what you can do is go to your leader and say, hey, so I'm gathering a list of folks who I interact with very regularly. I might need to consult for decisions or inform and keep in the loop. And these are some of the people that I thought of in the different buckets of groups that I've thought of. Can you help me fill this in? And then you can give that list to them and they can start to fill it in. They might say, oh, I have something like this, and they can kind of plug and play for you. And what I want you to make sure is that you kind of get the information like the name, maybe the email, phone number. Sometimes it's helpful to know like what site they work in, like if they're in a different building. Sometimes the person will know like, oh yeah, Jim really likes instant message, but he never answers his phone. So I'm just thinking from experience, they're probably like, Kayla never checks her voicemail, so send her an email or a chat. Like that's going to be the best way to get a hold of her, right? So there's going to be things that your leader knows, that the people that have worked with you in the org or with the org for longer than you that know just out of experience, and they can help you out. For example, there's definitely people in the org that I work with who it's like I can never get a hold of them unless I pick up the phone and call. Or maybe there's people that I have to just put a calendar invite on their Outlook calendar and they'll accept that and totally take the meeting with me, but they won't answer any of my emails. So there's definitely nuances that are going to help you kind of know things and get like that slight edge ahead of everyone else to help you be successful. So give that to your boss, have them fill that in, ask for like any special nuances like that, like preferred contact, and then have them give that back to you. Then what you can do is suggest, all right, like I said before, let's save this somewhere that's accessible by all people, many people, and that we can edit and update frequently. So one of the mistakes I made is when I started my career, I did start this kind of stakeholder list for myself, and then I would share it with my direct reports or folks, and then I noticed I would go in those folders later and they never updated it. So I guess maybe either I didn't set clear expectations, or perhaps it was like, yeah, I mean, I know these people now, I don't need to update it. But I think the owner could probably be the leader, right? The person overseeing this department. So I think it's nice now that we have more and better technology than we had when I first started, that you can put this in a shared place, whether it's like a SharePoint site or a Google Doc, something that can be editable by multiple people and that you can remember to update. So for me, one of my triggers is any time that I hire somebody new on my team, I go and look at that and I want to update it. Another trigger could be just like annually, like if I'm doing my end of year, like sort of packaging all of my documents for document control and maybe like getting my reviews ready for my team, that might be a good time to be like, oh yeah, let's check the stakeholder contact list. Another time you might want to update it is when you know somebody has changed roles. So for example, if I have somebody who I'm like, oh yeah, that's my contracting person, they change roles, you learn who the new person is, just go update that right away and be like, oh yeah, it's no longer, Tina, and now it's Bev, right? So you can just go in there and update it right away. That way it's always updated. So the cool next step that I want to share with you to give you the extra leg up is, if your boss is willing, ask them to make a warm introduction for you. So now in theory, you have this awesome broad network, like some first people that you could reach out to contact and their roles and kind of their preferred contact. Then you can say, okay, so boss or leader, I would like to reach out to so-and-so for this. Do you think that's be appropriate in this situation? They could say, oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. Reach out to Jan. And then you can say, wonderful. So I've never spoken with Jan before, and I'm new, and I'm wondering if you can make a warm introduction for me. And essentially what I consider a nice, quick, warm introduction that is very low burden for your boss is just to say, hey, could you just send a quick email connecting us saying like, hey, I'm Kayla. This is Kayla. She's new in this role and she would like to meet with you. And I thought, oh, I have the perfect person. Let me just connect you both and make a warm introduction. So yeah, feel free to collaborate and let me know if I can help in any way. Something like that. Usually your leader will get the hint and they'll be like, oh yeah, I can email you both and I'll CC you on it and it'll be good and I'll make a warm introduction. Or, oh yeah, they work in this building. Let me just walk you over and introduce you the next time that we're both together, something like that. So I think the cherry on top here is this warm introduction, because I definitely had times where I'm like, it's almost like a cold call. It's like, hi, I was told to reach out to you for this thing. I'm so-and-so. And they're like, oh, like this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, my boss told me that I could reach out to you and that you could lend me a hand or you'd be helpful in the situation. And they might be like, sure, but literally like, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. That's kind of weird. And so I know that seems like people might not be like that, but I think that sometimes the fact is we're all really booked. We all have a lot on our plate. So if I just got like a cold email from a random person I've never heard of, I'm like, oh, sure, I know your boss, but I haven't heard of this project. Is it an approved project? Is it something that we're now working on? Is this part of the strategy? Like all of these questions bubble up. So if you have them make a warm introduction, then they can at least be like, oh, okay, so I know that your boss, Kayla introduced us. Yeah, like let's talk through that. And then when we have a barrier, we can ask Kayla or, oh, let me just ping Kayla real quick and ask for some clarification. I'm totally happy to sit down with you. I just think it kind of ties it into a nice bow where it kind of gives you a leg up and you don't have to like explain who you are and where you came from and who you're replacing and all of that. It just kind of eliminates that. So I hope that's helpful. Having a broad network full of the buckets of people that you're going to interact with, their name, their role, what department they're in, their preferred contact information, and then having your leader make a warm introduction for you. And you can have them make this introduction like right away, like Kayla's new in this role. If you need anything, please contact her. That's simple as well. Or they can do it like as needed, like as a project comes up where you need to interface with, let's say, IT, they can then be like, oh, we have a new operational person. This is her name, and she's starting with us a couple months ago, and she has a project now. We would like to see if we can get a resource. So yeah, I think it just depends on the cadence of the work and when it feels most appropriate for them to make that warm handoff to you. So again, I hope this is helpful. If you'd like to check out the new role checklist, it's free. Download it below in the description, or if you are on the podcast, in the show notes. I hope that you guys liked this new format. Sometimes I get all dressed up. I'm wearing my suit when I'm on YouTube, and then when I'm recording, it's like there's no camera, so I'm just in like my Adidas shirt and my sweatshirt. And today I just thought like leaders look and come in variety of shapes and sizes and feels and all of that. And like, I can still be a leader and show up in an Adidas shirt. So I feel like that's cool. We are all like whole humans, and we have multi dimensions of us. So I've really enjoyed this like more intimate type of podcast where I'm on the camera, but then also just in your ear. And I just want to thank you so much for letting me allowing me to do this. And I know this is really a personal thing to like actually have somebody's voice in their ear. And I just feel really grateful that you've allowed me to do this. So if you like this podcast or this YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode from me. If you are on the podcast, please leave me a nice rating or review wherever you listen. Give me 5 stars if you can. And also it's really helpful when you write a description or like a comment so then I know like what you have enjoyed and that other people can organically see this podcast. When you do that, it helps the platform share the podcast more so we can organically grow. And if you're on the YouTube channel watching, liking the video, giving it a thumbs up, and then subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you never miss a video from me. It really, really helps me also grow my channel. And I'm so happy. I'm almost at 600 subscribers at the time I'm recording this, and I just can't believe it. So it's been 2 years on the YouTube channel and on the podcast since 2018 to 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years. Insane. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this is helpful to you, and I will see you in the next podcast or in the next video. Don't forget to be a light. Take care.